Yeah.
So
Okay.
good evening, one and all. It's good to
Good
see all my teammates here today, whom I have spent, I think, wonderful days of my life, enjoying and learning from each one of them.
Yeah.
So today we welcome Dr. Prabha Seshachar. So she doesn't need
Thank
any
you.
introduction as such because she is well versed with all of us. But nevertheless, I should introduce her so everyone else get to know her better. So Dr.
Yeah.
Prabha Sesachar is the resident medical officer and senior consultant and at the Department of Palliative Medicine, Kidwai Memorial Institute of Oncology. Kindly mute yourself, participants. Kindly mute yourself. She is MBBS, DA Anesthesiology, PG diploma in HM, na?
Yeah. It's hospital management.
Hospital management. She's done her diploma in acupuncture as well and NABH SSR. Her work experience is 23 years in anesthesiology and palliative medicine. National faculty and course head of for IAPC, Indian Association of Palliative Care, courses held at Kidwai Cancer Institute. She is also faculty for e-cancer modules for palliative care, faculty for Karnataka State Palliative Care Policy Program, team leader for UK Exchange Program in Palliative Care, conducted a number of training programs in palliative care for doctors, nurses, social workers, counselors, and volunteers. Won the Best Paper Award in the International Palliative Care Conference held at Hyderabad in February 2015 for innovation of reverse spoon feeding appliance for patients with oral cancer. Speaker and chairperson for IAP PCON, author to articles, modules, and chapters in palliative care, community work for cancer screening programs and building awareness in palliative care, building awareness in tobacco related cancers, ill effects of alcohol and drugs for school, college, institutions, factory workers, etc. So she's a wonderful human being, a very good friend of mine, and very noble person, always reachable, not at all difficult to reach, and always helpful. So, Dr. Prabha, we are a set of counselors, and especially it had started with me in 2013 that we started cancer counseling and palliative care counseling, also helping patients with end of life counseling. And now, post COVID, we are also helping people cope up with COVID, quarantine, and isolation. So we've been reaching out to people, and purely our services are voluntary. We do not charge anything for our services, and we see that each one is reached out at the best way when they need us. So that's all about us. And over to you, Dr. Prabha. Participants, kindly mute yourself, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Alpa, for the elaborate introduction.
Once again. So you're able to talk now?
Prabha is not unmuted.
Unmute. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So, yeah, can I start? Everybody's fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, very, very good evening to each one of you and all my beloved volunteers whom I have been closely associated with, especially in Kidwai. I love you all. And it's been such a long time to get connected with you because of this great COVID and this damn COVID that came in our way. So, but nevertheless, I think we have all other ways to connect with each other. And this is a wonderful platform. Thank you so much, Alpa, for bringing on this platform where, we can share a lot of things. And
You're most welcome.
Yeah, and definitely, I should say hats off to your voluntary work, Alpa. Bringing in Pehchan and all our Kidwai helping hand, people who've been volunteering for so many years, without any expectations, without any conditions applied, and that's something that I have learned so much from you. And if there is anything that I have come up risen in my profession, I think I owe a lot of credit to volunteers like you. So I really must thank you all.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
so
Thank you.
yeah.
The learning is
So
mutual. Learning is mutual.
mutual. So it's nice. It's nice. It's lovely to work with people like you. So yeah, so let's, because we don't have much time and I don't want to stretch a lot. Of course, the today's topic is cancer care and COVID care. And how we are going to manage people, especially because I'm in the cancer setup, and now I'm the resident medical officer, as well as the COVID nodal officer. I have been chosen for Kidwai. So when it came on in the beginning, it was a little difficult for me to manage, put up a screening program. Now we have streamlined quite a bit in Kidwai. But nevertheless, it's like a double-edged sword here right now, the patient having cancer as well as COVID, and how do we manage them? That is the whole thing. So I think now what's happening, cancer is the letter C, Corona is letter C, China is letter C. So everybody is afraid of the word C now.
Yes.
Earlier X was the danger sign. Anyway, there's an X with a red cross and all that, and it's a danger sign. But now you see the word C, everybody is scared of. But remember, C is also for care. And that we should not forget. How we can care, how we can extend our care, whatever way possible, to patients who are suffering with cancer and who have been infected with corona and the deadly disease that right now it's such an alarming thing. So before that, let's little bit quickly understand, just purely a cancer patient without any COVID, what do they go through actually? So it may not be new to you. All of you have experienced, you'll have spoken to patients, but just to give a rundown to some newer people who've joined us, remember the moment a cancer has been diagnosed, what really goes to a patient is the gripping fear. Fear, because cancer is synonymous to death, and they're too afraid that what is going to happen to me now that I've been diagnosed with cancer? They come into the hospital with so much of anxiety, and they have been diagnosed with cancer. So there's a lot of fear, and fear along with a lot of uncertainty. If I have been diagnosed with cancer, will I get treated? Will I get cured? Will I die of cancer? Will I suffer and die of cancer? There are so many questions. So the psychological impact the patient has is enormous, and it's devastating also. So it's, for us, it's very, very important just not to look into the physical aspect of the disease. It goes a long way for us to look into the psychological angle of the patient right from the beginning. Okay. And as a patient gets diagnosed, gets investigated, gets treatment, it's one long saga for them. And during the investigations, and they're too scared of how big the cancer is going to be, whether it's a small cancer, whether it's become a big cancer, whether it's metastasized, what news the doctor is going to give that we cannot help you anymore. It has already been advanced. See, these are the things that will go on battling in their mind. So all along, the patients do require support, to make them feel brave about it. Then comes the treatment, and during the treatment, the side effects of treatment it can be crazy. They lose their hair, they become very fragile, they become fatigued, they have a lot of nausea, vomiting. So the treatment itself, makes them feel that, look, I don't think I can take any more of this cancer treatment. I cannot go through it. So they do require, if there's a great chance for them to survive, I think they do require a lot of support. And later on, once they come in an advanced stage and things like that, then the whole, dynamics change for them. And end of life, that's a different thing altogether, where families to be given more importance. I mean, you focus on the family because they're going to lose their near and dear one towards the end of life. I'm not telling all patients who've got cancer should end that way. But, more or less, some people may stay 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. But the journey is such that they require support, psychological support through and through. So that is why cancer, it's not only physical, psychological, social, it's also spiritual. because how the person perceives the cancer, how spiritually they take it, the spiritual pain. Why did I get this cancer? Why I've been cursed with cancer? So while the patient is battling with this cancer, then comes a new demon in their life, that is corona. And that is when it came in the beginning, towards May, April, June, and things like that. People did not know how to treat. And the moment the corona has been diagnosed, that you're positive of corona, it was like, everybody used to run away from them. It's like as if today the person is possessed by some devil. Oh my god, she's got corona, this, let's run away from her, let's not go. So she or he becomes like an untouchable. As it is, there's so much of stigma with cancer, and the stigma, the whole thought of that thing is slowly phasing off. Like, people have been accepting cancer and they are being supportive, but now you have this corona where you're not supposed to be even sitting close to the patient, not in 3 feet, 6 feet, even 12 feet today. So that has left the people absolutely lonely, because cancer, you're psychologically isolating yourself, whereas with corona, you're physically isolating the patient, totally up to them. I can tell you, because I've just been discharged from the hospital. I was infected with corona, and I did not think that it's always like this, that nothing will happen to me, it will always happen to somebody else. Though I was in the hospital, I was a nodal officer, people have been warning me, my friends have been warning me, you don't wear your mask properly and things like that. But ultimately, I was also a victim to corona, and the pain that I went through, I know it. The kind of physical pain that I went through, and a mental trauma. I should really thank my friends who, sort of supported me, my family who supported me and had counseled me through and through those 7 days I was there in the hospital. And today I'm sitting here in front of you. And if it wasn't for the support, I'm telling you, it would have been, even though I counsel people and think, but still, we also need a lot of counseling. So when healthcare professionals require counseling, just imagine how much of talking and counseling a patient who's been infected with corona and has got, it's like a double disease for them. It's like a double disease. It's like the end of the road, and that's all. There is nothing more that one can do for me. Now it's cancer, now it's corona. And I think there is no support going to come for me. And ultimately, death is inevitable. And they're gripping with fear because they do not know. No, the corona is very, very new to everybody. Even the doctors, it's quite new. We do not know how this corona is going to react, how it's going to turn, how bad it's going to be, what is the viral route. So it's a learning process for us also. So in the beginning, what was happening, treatment for corona became very difficult because we did not know exactly, what is the thrombosis that happens. We have to give anticoagulants. People were going on ventilators and ultimately death. But fortunately now, things are much, much improved. And even the worst patients do get admitted and are able to come out of corona. The only thing is, corona is just not one-time disease. It's just not, doesn't come and, goes away for forever. It is that virus that is going to stay. It's just like any of your pneumonia or any other viral disease, that if your immune status is low, you can get that back again. Okay, so these are some of the things that I wanted to share, that what the patients actually go through, and what is it that we can do? What is it that we can do to help such a patient who has cancer, who has been diagnosed with corona while on treatment? Because what's happening is, the moment they've been diagnosed with corona, we're postponing the treatment. We're postponing the treatment, say for 14 days, 21 days. So there's again uncertainty of what is going to happen to the disease. Now, if you're going to postpone the treatment, will my disease grow? Will my disease come back? Will I ever get treated for cancer? See, all kinds of questions come. So it's important for us to talk to them and say, we have given you so much. Please do come back, and we're always there for you. I remember, now a little bit we have streamlined as a nodal officer. A lot of things have been streamlined. But in the beginning, when I was chosen as nodal officer, all patients who've been diagnosed with corona being positive, I used to personally call them up and tell them, look, you have got corona, and I do not want you to be afraid of it. If you're asymptomatic, home quarantine. These are the advices that are given. So what happens? There was no helpline in the hospital. Mine was the only number whom they can contact. So everybody had a lot of questions. We immediately used to discharge them, send them home or send them to the hospital based on their symptoms, and then be in touch with them. They used to call us up because mine was the only contact point. So my burden became so much. I could not take on the burden of the questions that were being fired to me. How am I going to, manage the cancer? How are we going to do the corona? Will you take us back? And we didn't even know what is the cutoff period when they can come back for treatment, when they should not. So there was a lot of confusion. And for me, it became psychologically also, I was also a little devastated because I said, how I unable to handle the number of patients who call me. It's like through the night, I used to get calls. But I had to be patient from my side because I need to understand their psyche also, because there was nobody else who was able to give them any additional information about corona. And the only thing that the BBMP or the government or the corporation used to call them up just to register their case. You've been diagnosed with cancer, corona, but please go to the hospital, please stay at home. That's the only information they get. But there was nobody who tell them, calm down, calm down. It's not the end of the world, okay? We are there to, they just wanted somebody to say that, don't get worried. Don't be afraid. There is treatment for corona. We are here to guide you, okay? That's all they wanted. Somebody they wanted, to say those few things, because otherwise they also did not know what to do. And people have packed their bags and gone off to their hometown. There, whether they've got treatment or no, we do not know. They were so afraid. And now the lockdown was the worst hit. Neither they could go back to their homes, neither from their homes they could come here for treatment. So lockdown period, though it was done for the welfare of the country, welfare of things, but it had left a lot of people hanging in the air, So that became an added burden for the patient, especially with cancer, because they did not know. So we used to have riots near the gate in the hospital, riots that was going on because they wanted to come. We were not allowing them inside because they were all positive. And we used to try to tell them, go back, come back after 14 days. They did not where to go. And there was no, the commuting was becoming a big difficulties, no buses, taxis, people were charging them enormously for everything. So I think it was a lot of things aspect came and it compounded their issues. So we had a lot of difficulties June, July, August, but things are much, much better now. Now that we have better drugs for the treatment of coronavirus, but what the patient wants is somebody to listen to them, somebody who can guide them, somebody could help them out, and somebody who tells them to be strong, because this is the time when they need to be very, very strong and fight not only cancer, but also fight corona. So I'm only looking for some system to be in place, so that some helpline, some system, so that any patient who has any doubt, any kind of uncertainty or anxiety, they just have to pick up the phone and speak to somebody. I'm telling you, that much will make a huge difference for them. Huge difference. They will build up that the energy that they have, the motivation, the encouragement that they require. They will just get it by somebody who will speak to them, who has good information about it and is able to deliver that to the patient. Okay, so we can all together sit across and plan out this kind of a system, enrolling the government into it, making a policy, because corona is just not, it's here to stay for a long time. It is here to stay for a long time. So I think as a policy makers or whatever it is, we need to draw out some policy so that we can incorporate that counseling and talking to the patient who has been affected by corona on a day-to-day basis. Okay, because I required talking from my friends, my close friends, Dr. Aarti, Dr. VB Gaura, Dr. Namrata, my friend from USA, Dr. Suma, my family members. Every day they used to talk to me just to, motivate me, encourage me. Imagine I too was feeling low, was feeling depressed. And because I did not know how the turn of events would be, I wouldn't know. So they did all the researching. So I had them. I had a good support system, and that is why I sort of sailed out. But what about those who don't even have anybody to talk to, who do not know whom to contact? So I think we need to form some strong support system for them and lend it. And volunteers, great volunteers like you, I'm sure you'll have brilliant ideas how to go about it. But we are also there to be hand in hand with you and to bring out some kind of a system to do this. So this is just a briefing, I think, but I also like to think in this kind of support system, we need to make some kind of a registry of patients who've been affected with corona have come out, whether we can keep their names and the telephone numbers and try to see if they can donate their plasma, because a lot of patients require plasma. So we, just like how we have a blood bank and blood registry for blood, for the need of blood, I think for the need of plasma, who've been infected with coronavirus, we need to make a registry so that there is always immediate reach for people who really require the plasma. And also government, how they can give a free treatment for patients who've been infected with corona, because it can be very expensive. They get admitted to any hospital, and now you know how the corporate hospitals, they're all out to make the maximum cash out of this. I can see it. So we need to rope in the government. We need to rope in a lot of other agencies into this entire system of coronavirus care and cancer care. So the bottom line is understanding their psychology, understanding what they're going through, and giving a lending ear to them, listening to them, planning with them, and acknowledging their issues. Acknowledging their issues more in an empathetic response is what is very important. And then ask them, what is the kind of help that you require from us? Okay, we will try to sort that out. So ask them what kind of help they want. Tell them that we are available for you at whatever time. And you can plan out what time, whatever time it is, and say that you can call us on this helpline if you wish to speak with us. Okay, and give them whatever they require. And I'm telling you, it's going to be beautiful. And everybody can fight out this corona, and our cancer care will continue without a break. Okay, so this is, I've just put it in a nutshell because I'd like this thing to be more of a interactive session, rather than just a, ongoing lecture. So with just this kind of this thing, if there is something that you want to bring out, discuss, we can take it forward.
Dr. Prabha, I would like to bring to your notice, in Mumbai, we have this plasma dona movement.
Yeah.
So wherein all the COVID infected patients are counseled, they are spoken with and told them the importance of donating the plasma and how it is going to help. So that work has been going on. Many NGOs have lined up together. Even the Hope with Cancer, where I'm part of, even they are also doing it together with other hospitals and NGOs.
Okay.
So that is helping many
wonderful.
people.
That's a wonderful thing. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. So I think even in Karnataka, there must be some helplines, but I think volunteers who are quite enthusiastic, they can sit at home and, try to do either video calling, Zoom meeting, whatever it is. I think you people can help out talking to patients who require some kind of, hearing. Yeah.
Yes.
So
the awareness should be there actually, rather than the fear, the awareness of the disease, and it can be cured now. Initially, people did not knew, but now many people are recovering. The recovery rates are better than the death rates actually.
Much better.
And there is a lot of stigma attached to it. So that also we need to destigmatize as volunteers or as counselors. We should take that initiative and help out to remove the stigma what is there in this. Somebody has shared the NIMHANS COVID support helpline number also with us.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
so that will be nice.
shared.
Yeah, that will be nice. We can, So we need to bring out that helpline and talk to them basically very positively, make them strong psychologically, and probably talk to them about success stories that has happened. Like I share my success story about being both. And fortunately for me, what has happened, unfortunately, my daughter got infected because of me. I still feel guilty about it. But both of us were there together for each other in the hospital. Otherwise, being isolated in the hospital without anybody meeting them, they're just by themselves, that can really leave them so depressed, very, very depressed. So there should be some kind of a video calling system even in the hospital so that they can meet, see their family members, speak with them once or twice, So I feel that's something that we have to take that forward, where the
Yes.
patients are alone by themselves without anybody meeting them. And I came out by 5-6 days, but there are people who are there for 15 days, 20 days, and they get very, very depressed. And the worst thing is because the staffs, they're also very afraid of corona, though they're wearing all the PPE kits, but still their visits to the patient may not be as many times as expected. They might just do once in a day or twice in a day if necessary, So they're all by themselves, all alone,
Yes.
So that can be very, very depressing. I do not know what will happen to them. So this is an alarming call for for the support system that they require when they're being isolated in the hospital. So I think we need to talk positive to them, motivate them, encourage them, and say that we are there at any time. You can call us, and make them very, very strong psychologically. So something that do, and licensing with between the healthcare workers as well as the patient. We need to be the mediators for them, because there are so many times the doctors are too busy, the nurses are too busy. They may not have time to explain to them everything. So we are the people who need to take information from them and give it to the patient and be there for them whenever it's required. So that's the thing. I think uh, can we work it out at the government level through the BBMP, the corporation, saying that we also are the helpline. The moment they've been diagnosed, somebody calls them up and tells them, like how I did it as a nodal officer in the beginning. I had to talk to them at length. But the burden should be shared by a lot of people. So I think in the beginning itself, when we can speak with them and say that, look, you've been diagnosed, but you're positive, but there's something that you need not be afraid of. We have wonderful medicines today, and you will be out of it within this. It's all a self-limiting. You will be coming out within that X number of days. So we can plan that up. And already you all are doing it in Bombay, in Mumbai, Tatas, you're saying.
Yes.
In Kidwai also, there is some kind of system. It's coming in place, but I think we need to reinforce that system. We need to reinforce that system.
Maybe you can add us to that system.
Yes.
Yes.
As
We can do
All
that.
volunteers,
of us
you can
can
add us to
join and
that
support.
system.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
We can coordinate
we are
and
available.
support for the cause.
Right. We can do that.
We are available all the time.
And
Yeah, I
this
know.
this is only tele-counseling, so
Can I-
everybody from their workplace can do it actually from
Hello?
their home.
True.
Hello.
Yes, Mr.
Hello.
Ramswamy. Yes.
Yeah, can I share for a minute?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
sure.
Okay. Actually, I would like to share during this COVID time. One of my very close friend. Are you able to listen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
One of
we are
my
able to hear.
okay. One of my close friend's wife was tested positive for COVID, and she was admitted in a Star hospital. And the husband came with her and admitted. And what happened? The doctor said, "Yan, we are going to take care of your wife. Please, you can go home, and we will be able to give you a video uh, shootout of your wife taking breakfast in the morning, lunch, dinner. 3 times we will call you. You don't worry. We will show you also the face of your wife taking coffee, snacks, and all that." So he was at home. Then what happened? He needed oxygen also. So everything was arranged and they were taking care. But as Prabha was telling, it was totally, completely isolated from everybody. She was alone in the room, and the husband was only communicating through telephone. So actually, she was there for more than a month or two, maybe an hour, a month and a half. Then she was discharged. She became very well and she was discharged. But when she came home, the challenges that the husband went through, he was sharing with me every day. I was talking to him. Is when the wife comes there into the hall and she sits in the chair, whether he can go near, though she has been tested negative and then only discharged. This type of fear came into the husband's mind, and he was feeling very bad about it, whether I can go near. She was also very much feeling bad, whether I can go near him. And there no, the children are not there. So they are all very much only two of them. So much of mental fear, anxiety, things like this came up. And he was talking to me, and I was talking to him, and trying to find out what best that can be done. And we were talking to the doctor also. With all that, the mind was very much scared, because the husband, though she is a wife, husband was equally scared whether he can get it again from though she was tested negative. So we said that you don't have to bother about it at the moment. Be there for her at a distance. And she was also accepting it. And that's how the whole thing went out, and they have become have become almost to come to normalcy, but still not 100% normalcy. This is the
Yeah.
first case. Second
True,
one I
true,
would like to share is
Yeah.
the BBMP ward numbers. There is one Dr. Veda who contacted our Banjara, and he had called, Dr. Chairman had called all of few of us, and she said that based on the ward number, we will give you patients. You can start counseling by telephone. So we have been counseling by telephone to the patients, and the counseling is not very big. They are asking us, some of them they don't want to talk, some of them they want to talk, some of them the direct question is, will I become okay? What is the answer for that? We will not say negatively. We will say definitely they are all happening. So many things are coming up, and you have to stay as per to the doctor's advice, being a volunteer. So based on the ward number given by the BBMP, we have a number of us have been doing the telecounseling. That is one second thing which I thought of sharing it. The other one is one of my own patients who was coming to Kidwai and the oral cancer, and he was that day it was sealed, as Baba was telling. There was no transport available, there was no taxi, nothing happened. And then he came to Ramaya, and we were going through so many other tests and all that. Other thing is, Sushila, we know her very from more than 15 years. She was having thyroid cancer. She was not allowed to even go to the pharmacy at that time. And so yesterday we bought the medicines which has been given, and the prescription, and then we couriered it to her. She is having a lot of relief. So it is not me doing it. Lot of us are doing this type of kind things which are necessary by that. So this is a small thing which I thought would like to share. That's all.
Yeah. So
Ah.
that's really wonderful, Ramaswamy, to hear that, so much of work is already being done from the volunteer side, telecommunication, and, trying to counsel the patients. And yeah, what you were saying is very true. Once we come back home, the rest of the family members do not know whether we need to sit in the same hall. I'm telling from experience that I too am facing the same thing right now. Because though I've been discharged, they said for 14 days you have to quarantine yourself, you have to isolate yourself. And so that is why me and my daughter are sort of locked up in one room, and we try to wear a mask. But my family members, they are missing us a lot. They're missing being with us, and they just want to be, they're eager to spend. And I know my husband, when I was treated earlier before the diagnosis, when I had so much of thing, he was by my side throughout, taking care of me. So I was very petrified that he also would have become positive. So I got my entire family tested, and that's when we too have been proven as positive, and the other two were negative, fortunately. But now that I'm back home, and I know for the next 1 week, 10 days, I have to be isolated and not allowing anybody to be near me, they also are feeling bad. But the only thing, the saving grace is that we are at home and not isolated in the hospital. So
Dr. Prabha,
Very good.
Dr. Prabha, sorry to interrupt you. This meeting may end now. Kindly rejoin all of you with the same link. It may end any moment, so we'll have to rejoin again.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Right.
So
I think
you
there
can
are
continue.
a couple of questions that have come up.
Yes,
I
yes.
think it has been extended to 1 hour now.
No, it shows less than a minute, so it'll.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Because in the new
Okay,
Zoom
we'll just-
says it's up to
Asha.
1 hour.
Okay, but
I see. Is
I
it?
don't know. Here it
Okay, if that
says,
is the case, then we can. Yeah.
yeah, but here it shows less than 1 minute, so I don't know. It can
Okay.
go
Okay.
away.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
questions I think we can take up